Hey you and welcome. My name is Mike and in this old video, we're gonna talk about a big old sack of pig poo. And that pig poo's name is Robert Pickton. Picky Bobby, I call him. Though he wasn't too picky about his victims. Robert William Willie Pickton is a Canadian serial killer. Yes, is, because he is still alive. Ladies and gentlemen, though that's about as shocking as me doing another case set in Canada. He was arrested in 2002 for the murders of 6 women. This would later be upped by a substantial amount. He looks kind of like an inbred hillbilly, and well, he acted like one too.
No.
We'll get into that in a moment. And by moment, I mean right now. Pick Willie was born in 1949 in British Columbia into a pig farming family. His family had been pig farmers for 3 generations, so I'm sure they smelled just fantastic. Robert would inherit the literal pigsty in Port Coquitlam, about 17 miles east of Vancouver, along with his brother David and sister Linda. A worker at the farm, Bill Hiscox, said the farm was a creepy looking place and called Robert, Bobby, Willie, a pretty quiet guy, who was sometimes just weird as shit. Serious question. What gave it away? An old neighbour would call Willie Pickton a good-natured little bastard. Only half of that statement is true. Over the years, the 2 brothers, Linda had moved away, kinda stopped farming so much and would only raise a few pigs to sell to friends and neighbours. In 1994 and 1995, they sold parts of their inherited land, earning a total of 5.16 million Canadian dollars. So, dollar bills sorted. In 1996, Robert and David, maybe a bit bored, I don't know, they registered a non-profit charity with the Canadian government. It was called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society. You heard me correctly.
Port Coquitlam is a small suburb of a little more than 58,000 residents. Colloquially known as POCO, the city spans across a series of tree-covered slopes and is most famously known as the hometown of Canadian hero Terry Fox.
No.
Here are 5 great things about living in Port Coquitlam.
Number 1, the Piggy Palace Good Time Society. Well, let me tell you, a lot of people didn't have a good time there. But Willie did, and his Willie too. So they advertised their soirees in the papers, very classy affairs. And by that I mean just mega piss-ups, raves in the slaughterhouse, sex workers, Hell's Angels, sometimes up to 2,000 people would go there. I know I've said this before, but there really must be nothing to do in Canada if you're prepared to go get blasted with this reject. Eventually the city cracked down, arguing that the brothers were unlawfully selling liquor at an unlicensed establishment. And so the, what was it called again? Oh yeah, the totally trustworthy sounding Piggy Palace Good Time Society would eventually be shut down around the year 2000, much to the disappointment of just everybody everywhere was crying their eyes out. So before we get into what we're going to get into, Robert and his brother Dave, they didn't just look like shit. They were actual pieces of shit too. In 1997, Robert was charged with the attempted murder of a sex worker named Wendy Estetter. He tried to stab her, so that's fair, yeah. But the case was dropped because prosecutors felt that Wendy, who was a drug addict, was too unstable to give an accurate testimony. She's making it up. Women, what? Even though both Wendy and Willie had actually suffered a stabbing during the encounter. She had taken the knife from Robert and stabbed him. Wendy was in handcuffs at the time, so Robert is just a big bitch. So they were both treated in the same hospital. Wendy had handcuffs on. And the key to those handcuffs was in Robert Pickton's pocket. It fell in.
Do you drink? Oh, no. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't use drugs. And then everybody says, how come your eyes are so bloodshot? I says, I turned around. I didn't take the knife away from her. I did not take the knife away from her. I aimed it to her and I knifed her twice. I did that. I admit I did that. That's one thing I shouldn't have done.
You've never taken any of the prostitutes back to your trailer?
Not since this incident, no. Hey.
But before that incident?
No.
So even with all of this, prosecutors were like, Don't worry about it. It's fine. David, the brother, also had a criminal record for sexual assault in 1998. They were both, no means yes type of guys, so I just feel sorry for those pigs. Now, over the course of the next few years, the guy who worked there, Bill Hiscox, why he worked there, I don't know, get another job. He started to notice that women kept going in, but they never left. Huh, weird. In 1998, a detective learned of a call made to a police tip phone line, saying Willie should be investigated in the case of women's disappearances in the area, primarily from Vancouver's downtown east side, where a lot of sex workers were. However, the detective struggled to attract resources and attention to the Picktons. Not only that, but between 1998 and 1999, 4 people alerted the police, "You should probably look into him, I think he's up to no good." And the police were like, "Oh well." In 1999, for example, the police received a tip that Robert kept human flesh in freezers. Though a warrant was secured, no search was carried out. That was probably just an oinker. I think human flesh and pig flesh are really similar. Not that I'd know. And so what was going on at the farm kept on going on. Eventually, in early 2002, the police finally did actually execute a search warrant on the Picktons' pig farm. They found weapons, and maybe just a little bit more. They found personal belongings of a missing woman on the farm, that of Lillian O'Dare, and a second court order was obtained to continue searching. The following day, Willie was charged with weapons offences. Both the Picktons were later released, though Robert was kept under surveillance. So the police kept snooping around the farm. What did they find, I wonder? Well, how about this? They would eventually find the remains of some victims, such as skulls cut in half and stuffed with human hands and feet, DNA from 33 women, bloody clothing belonging to a victim, and a jawbone and teeth belonging to one victim. They also found a .22 revolver, with a big ol' fucking dildo attached to the barrel. They found 357 Magnum rounds, 2 pairs of faux fur-lined handcuffs, a pair of night vision goggles, and photos of a garbage can containing the remains of a victim. Willie was like, "Oh, the dildo. That's for my own personal use. It's a suppressor for my gun, so that it doesn't sound loud, and it just goes whenever I fire it." Yeah, sure. The dildo. It had DNA of both him and a victim on it. So, they also found a syringe with 3 millimeters of blue liquid inside, and Spanish fly aphrodisiac. I actually had to Google what Spanish fly was. I'd never heard of it in my life. Apparently, it's a horny water. It's horny water that is made from crushed up beetles, and you drink it and you get horny. But actually, apparently, though, other times it's just sugar water. So Robert was quickly arrested. He would eventually be held responsible for the deaths of Serena Abbotsway, Mona Wilson, Jacqueline McDonnell, Diane Rock, Heather Bottomley, Andrea Josbury, Brenda Wolfe, Georgina Papin, Patricia Johnson, Helen Hallmark, Jennifer Furminger, Heather Chinnock, Tanya Hulk, Sherry Irving, Inga Hall, Cara Ellis, Andrea Borhaven, Deborah Lynn Jones, Marnie Frey, Tiffany Drew, Kerry Koski, Sarah DeVries, Cynthia Felix, Angela Jardin, Wendy Crawford, Diane Melnick, and Jane Doe. Yeah, all had gone missing between 1997 and 2001. Robert Pickton pled not guilty. Interesting, because he was happy to share his story with an undercover cop while in jail.
No. No. What are you doing? No. Crisis. So what do you got? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What? Yeah. Come on, buddy. Fucking this up. Okay? I know what's up. You fucking got it. You're gonna fucking missing person. We better fucking how you made it. Good evening. Fucking guy is right. I found the best way to fucking dispose of something. so I can take in the ocean.
Oh, really?
Fuck. You know what the fucking ocean is? You much like deeper than that. Who be now? No shit. I started fucking pretty good. Okay? Pretty much fucking left. I'm gonna stop it. You can just stop me. Really? Oh, fuck. Didn't just stop me. It's not like it's fucking worth it. You know? I can make things disappear. I was going to do my work. Maybe that's what I was stopping people for. Yeah. I want to do more. Make a big battle. Make a five star. That's fuck. Fucking 5-0. That's 100. How many of those? Yeah. Talk about half. One quarter. Talking about all. No. You have to 40 people list. And now this, I'm going to have people. The other half of the I love it. So they got to keep eating. They can't be put in English. But I think when we can name the internet fucking podcast on this, I think we can go to the cross. You feel the streets with the anchors, and you check yourself. You're getting better than 10 minutes. I make my own people breathe. My peace body. Just kicking your ass now.
But it pisses me off. Fucking hard. You know, it pisses me right off because of problems. They're just, they don't have nothing, but nothing otherwise.
Oh,
damn. Really practice. I was just going to go more than they can eat. Bigger than ladies, bigger than months in the States.
yeah. Oh, yeah, fucking like great.
This is already about 42 pieces.
Yeah, is it?
There were so many charges that had to be split up. The first, well, I guess trial would be for 6 victims, and then there would be a second one for the 20 others. So Robert Pickton's modus operandi, I guess you could say, was that he would pick up a sex worker in Vancouver's downtown east side, or whatever. He would drive them back to his farm. He would handcuff them, and they would start having sex, and then he would accuse them of something. He would start to get really violent and aggressive. He would accuse them of doing something they hadn't done, like stealing from him or something, in order to build up his inner rage, like the Hulk. Though they probably just said he had a small dick, which he does. He would then rape them, kill them by strangling them, bleed and gut them, run them through a wood chipper, and then feed their remains to his pigs. Or another claim is that the victims were ground, the resulting mince mixed with the pork mince from the farm, and the packages given to friends and family. This guy fucking sucks. His trial began in January 2006. The trial would go on for quite a long time, and remember, this is just a trial for 6 victims, not the other 20. And in December 2007, the jury would return its verdict. Now, we talked a lot about how messed up Robert Pickton is, but this is another pretty messed up part when the jury returned its verdict of not guilty on 6 counts of first-degree murder. But they did say guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder, so alright, thanks, I guess. Right. Willie was sentenced to life with no possibility of parole for 25 years, the maximum punishment for second-degree murder, and equal to the sentence which would have been imposed for a first-degree murder conviction. So, alright. In 2010, the prosecution for the other 20 women, 2-0, would be discontinued, so he would never actually have to go to court or trial or case or charges against the 20 other women that were found in the farm. Fair enough. So that's kind of it. Not really though, because in 2016, Robert Pickton, he done released a book, y'all. Pickton, in his own words, he claimed he's the fall guy in a justice system that wrongfully convicted him for the murders of 6 women. The book, which was selling for $14.95 on Amazon, was published in the United States by a retired California construction worker named Michael Childress, whose name appears on the cover. Michael was given a copy of the manuscript by a former cellmate of Willie's, a child sex offender who hoped to use the profits to pay for his own legal fees. Apparently the book was just pig shit actually. Terrible writing, awful prose, and it was soon taken down because everybody was just like, what the shit?
Another man is listed as the author, but the book is the work and the words of Robert William Pickton, Canada's deadliest serial killer, a former pig farmer who's in a maximum security prison in BC. He was convicted of killing 6 women, but confessed to killing 49. The back cover calls him the Fall Guy, and indeed, in 144 rambling pages, Pickton does proclaim his innocence. So how did Pickton get a book published? CTV is reporting Pickton had the manuscript smuggled out of prison by a former cellmate who gave it to a friend who apparently used a self-publishing website. From there, it's an easy jump to online booksellers, both in the US and Canada.
British Columbia then introduced legislation to prevent criminals from profiting from their crimes through sales of books and other memorabilia. In 2018, Robert Pickton was transferred from British Columbia to the Port Cartier Maximum Security Prison in Quebec. Actually, Luka Magnotta, he's also there, so I wonder if they're pals. In 2019, Robert Pickton had to leave prison very briefly for medical reasons. So that's good. I mean, not the fact that he left prison, it was only for 4 hours to go to a hospital. What's good is that he's in trouble, so happy days. So whatever happened to Dave Pickton, Robert's brother, right? He lived with Robert on that pig farm. It's unlikely he would be out of the loop, right? Well, Dave was never charged in connection with his brother's long-running murder spree. He never testified at Robert Pickton's trial, and he denies any knowledge of what his brother was up to, which is believable. But by 2012, he had been seen a bit frequently in Vancouver's downtown east side, the same neighborhood where Willie picked up his victims. Posters were actually put up saying beware of this fella. Though from what I could find, he has now started a charity in Ghana, helping poor people there. The Pickton Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. A name to be proud of. Oh wait, no. It's unclear how many victims Robert Pickton actually has. In that one interview we've seen, he claimed up to 49, and he seemed a bit pissed he didn't reach 50, so I guess we can take it like semi-seriously. It's a frightening case from this sack of pig shit.
There are more questions tonight about how police in British Columbia handled the Robert Pickton investigation, this time prompted by the release of video at the Missing Women's Inquiry. It's from January of 2000, 2 years before the pig farmer would be charged with murder. Ian Hannamansing is on the story for us tonight. Ian.
Peter, it's disturbing enough to see Robert William Pickton questioned by police 12 years ago. Even more chilling to know afterwards he just walked away.
The RCMP and the Vancouver police came under severe criticism after all this came out for not taking action sooner and not taking the disappearances of so many women seriously. But again, that's an all too familiar story. In 2010, an inquiry was launched examining this case and its failures, and found quite a few. Inept criminal investigative work, compounded by police and societal bias against sex workers and Indigenous women. And so ends the story of Canada's worst serial killer. I feel like I've said that before, but we just keep coming back to Canada. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to see even more of that chapter, why not check out my Patreon? For $2 a month, you get early access to videos, exclusive videos, AMAs, and a Patreon-only Discord. So check it out if you want to, but don't worry, I'm not going to handcuff you and feed you to pigs if you don't. So, hey, do your own thing. Thanks again. I'll see you as always real soon in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.